What if the rustiest van rotting behind a barn right now is worth more than a brand new pickup truck? These 10 vans have sold for life-changing money, and there is a very real chance one of them is sitting in your family right now, waiting to be hauled off for scrap. The only thing standing between a scrap price and a small fortune is knowing where to look. And vans are the perfect place to hide a fortune because nobody ever babied a van. Cars got garages and Sunday washes. Vans got loaded, dented, driven into the ground, and dumped behind the shop, which is why survival rates are tiny and why the clean ones left are climbing in value faster than the muscle cars everyone actually saved. Number 10, the Chevrolet Corvair Greenbrier. An old Corvair van sagging in a field looks like pure junk. The slab sides, the skinny little wheels, the whole thing looks like it should have been crushed during the Carter administration. And honestly, for decades, nobody argued. But the Greenbrier, built from 1961 to 1965, carried its air-cooled flat-six engine in the rear, the same basic layout as a Porsche of the era. And that oddball engineering is what collectors quietly chase today. This was Chevrolet's answer to the Volkswagen bus, and it died young. GM's own conventional Chevy van replaced it in 1965, and Ralph Nader's book, Unsafe at Any Speed, buried the Corvair name for good, which means production was short and survivors are genuinely scarce. A rough but running Greenbrier brings $10,000 to $20,000, and clean restored examples have climbed past 30. The variant that should really make you look twice is the Corvair 95 rampside pickup, the one with a fold-down loading ramp cut right into the side of the bed. Farmers used those ramps to roll equipment aboard. Most of them got worked to death, and the survivors now command a serious premium over the vans. So before you dismiss any old Corvair hauler, walk around to the passenger side and look for that ramp. One piece of stamped steel can double the money, and a numbers-matching flat six pushes it higher still. A rusty ramp side in a hedgerow looks like a tetanus hazard. To the right buyer, it looks like a payday. Number 9, the first-generation Ford Econoline. This one fools people because it was everywhere. Between 1961 and 1967, Ford sold these flat-nosed vans to plumbers, phone companies, and delivery fleets by the hundreds of thousands, and they were treated like the disposable tools they were. Ford built them cheap on Falcon compact car underpinnings, sold them cheap, and nobody ever imagined one would be worth saving. See one today, dented and faded with a ladder rack still bolted on, and it is easy to assume it is worth whatever the scrapyard pays by the pound. But the pickup version is a different story entirely. Ford built far fewer Econoline pickups than vans, and because the engine sat between the seats and the cab rode over the front axle, the factory bolted a counterweight of roughly 165 pounds above the rear wheels just to keep the nose planted. Drag racers noticed that layout, tossed the weight, and some of those flat-nosed pickups became famous for lifting their front wheels off the starting line. Today, a solid, restored first-generation Econoline pickup brings $25,000 to $50,000, and rare factory options push it higher. The check that matters is the data plate on the door jamb. Decode it, because a 5-window cab, an original camper package, or a Mercury badge Canadian version can each add thousands. The van your uncle ran for his electrical business in 1966 was worth nothing for 40 years. That long stretch of being worthless is why so few survived, and scarcity is what the market pays for now. Number 8, the Dodge A100. If the Econoline was the plumber's van, the A100 belonged to the guy who could not afford the Econoline. Built from 1964 to 1970, it is stubby, slab-nosed, and proportioned like a loaf of bread, and estate sale crowds cannot get rid of them fast enough. But the A100 owns one of the best stories in the entire van world. In the mid-60s, a drag racer named Bill Maverick Golden dropped a supercharged Hemi into the bed of an A100 pickup and created the Little Red Wagon, a truck so nose-light it ran entire quarter-mile passes on its back wheels in front of packed grandstands. Golden toured that wheel stander for decades, and it made the A100 a legend to a whole generation of gearheads who are now in their 60s and 70s with money to spend on the toys of their youth. A clean A100 van brings $20,000 to $40,000. The much rarer pickup brings more, and well-built Hemi tribute trucks have sold deep into 5 figures. The detail that should make you sit up is the wheelbase. Dodge built 2, the short 90-inch trucks and early vans, and the stretched 108-inch A108 that came later, and the short ones are the version collectors fight over. So put a tape measure between the axle centers before you price anything. People let these go for $800 because they look like a delivery flop from a cartoon. The buyer hauling one away is usually grinning the whole drive home. Number 7, Divco milk trucks. trucks. This next one genuinely looks like it should be worthless because it looks like an appliance. The Divco, short for Detroit Industrial Vehicle Company, is that snub-nosed, round-shouldered milk truck you remember idling at the curb at dawn, and the design barely changed from the late 1930s all the way into the 1980s. These trucks were engineered for one job so completely that the driver could operate them standing up, working a special control setup with a folding seat, because a milkman hopping between porches had no time to sit down. When one turns up at a farm auction, dented and smelling faintly of sour dairy, families practically pay someone to remove it. But that unchanging shape is precisely the value. The Divco is one of the most recognizable commercial vehicles ever built in America, and restored examples now bring $40,000 to $80,000 from collectors, advertisers, and business owners who park them in front of creameries and coffee shops as rolling billboards. Nostalgia is the entire engine of this market. The men buying these trucks are buying the sound of glass bottles on their childhood porch, so before you let one go, look hard at the paint. Original delivery livery, even faded and peeling, adds real money because a truck still wearing its hometown dairy name is a one-of-one piece of local history that a museum or a local business will pay up for. Stripping and repainting one of these can actually destroy value. In this corner of the market, the ugly patina is the product. Number 6, the Citroen H van. This is the one that looks like a corrugated garden shed that learned to drive, and I mean that literally. The body panels are ribbed like a tin roof, a construction trick the French borrowed from old Junkers aircraft to make thin steel stiff and cheap. The French themselves nicknamed it the pig nose, which tells you how much affection its face inspired. Citroen built close to 500,000 of them from 1947 all the way to 1981, hauling vegetables, bread, and livestock for butchers, bakers, and gendarmes until they dissolved into rust. For decades, they were the most disposable vehicle in Europe. Nobody wanted them. Then the food truck boom happened. It turns out the H-van's tall, boxy body, front-wheel drive, and flat-load floor make it the single most photogenic food truck platform on Earth, and prices went vertical. European auction houses now regularly sell solid H-vans for $25,000 to $60,000, and fully converted coffee and crepe trucks bring more than that from cafe owners in Los Angeles, Tokyo, and London. And because demand outran supply, companies now build replica H-van bodies on modern chassis, which means a genuine numbers-correct original is becoming the blue-chip version of a vehicle that was once literally free. Check the chassis plate, confirm the original drivetrain, and do not let the rust scare you because these were rusty when they were new. Now, before we get into the top 5, stop and notice the pattern, because every van so far got cheap the same way. Somebody looked at the outside and never checked the plate. The value of an old vehicle almost never lives in the paint. It lives in data plates, option codes, window counts, original drivetrains, and the small production quirks that separate a $1,000 parts van from one worth $50,000 or more. Learn to read those clues, and you will never judge an old vehicle by its looks again. That is why I put together the Barn Find Blueprint. It walks you through the badges, stamps, codes, and valuation rules that professional pickers and auction buyers use to spot money on site, so the next barn you walk into, you see what they see. Whether you are clearing out a family property, working a farm auction, or wondering about the van parked beside your own shop, this changes how you look at every old vehicle you pass. The link is in the description, and the QR code is on your screen right now. Grab it and let us finish the countdown. Number 5, the Fiat 600 Multipla. This little machine has appeared on ugliest cars ever made lists for 50 straight years, and one look tells you why. The windshield sits almost directly over the front axle, the nose slopes backward like a receding chin, and the whole thing looks like a phone booth that melted slightly in the sun. Families who inherit one in a dusty garage assume it is a joke. It is not a joke. The Multipla, built from 1956 to 1965, squeezed 6 seats into a footprint under 12 feet long, powered by a rear-mounted engine making barely 21 horsepower, and it still managed to serve as the taxi of Rome for a decade. Today it is recognized as the grandfather of every minivan on the road. Collectors and museums have driven prices to $50,000 and beyond for good examples, with the finest restorations approaching 6 figures at major European auctions. A car mocked for its face for half a century now outsells clean examples of far prettier machines. What decides the price is originality, the correct little rear engine, the factory taxi partition on cab spec cars, and matching body numbers all add serious money, while a swapped drivetrain cuts the price hard. The Multipla proves the entire thesis of this list better than anything else on it. The market does not pay for pretty. The market pays for rare, and there is nothing else on earth that looks like this thing. Number 4. 70s custom boogie vans. Now, we get to the one that makes people genuinely uncomfortable, and that discomfort is where the money hides. You know these vans. The Dodge Tradesman or Chevy G-Series with the bubble portholes, the airbrushed Wizard or Desert Sunset mural down the side, the wall-to-wall shag carpet, the wood paneling, maybe a waterbed bolted in the back. The craze got so big that Detroit joined in, and Dodge even sold a factory street van package with custom wheels and interior kits straight off the showroom floor. When families find one today, they are embarrassed by it. It feels like a punchline from a bygone decade, so it gets dumped for next to nothing just to make it disappear. But survivor customs from the van craze of the 70s have become bona fide collectibles because almost none survived intact. They were repainted, gutted, worked to death, or crushed. An original documented show van with its period interior and mural intact now brings $25,000 to $75,000 at major collector auctions, and vans with magazine features or show trophies from back in the day bring even more. And this is the part that stings. The very things families rip out first, the shag, the murals, the porthole windows, are the entire value. A gutted boogie van is just an old cargo van. An untouched one is a rolling time capsule of American culture, and museums have started buying them. If you find one, photograph everything, dig through the glove box for old show plaques and magazine clippings, and do not clean a single thing before you get an expert opinion. Number 3. The Volkswagen Vanagon Syncro Westphalia. At a glance, this is the most forgettable box on the entire list. A flat-sided, wheezing 80s van that struggled to climb an overpass when it was new. Thousands of them died in driveways, and plenty got donated to charity for the tax write-off. But flip the badge math around. From 1985 to 1992, the Syncro version carried a sophisticated four-wheel drive system with a viscous coupling, hand-assembled at a specialist factory in Graz, Austria. The same outfit that built military vehicles and the Mercedes G-Wagon. Volkswagen imported only a small number to the United States, and the camper versions with the Westphalia pop top are rarer still. Then the overlanding boom hit, and the Syncro Westphalia became the holy grail of adventure vans. Clean examples now trade hands for $80,000 to $150,000, and exceptional low-mileage campers have gone even higher on the big online auction sites. A boxy 80s Volkswagen van, trading for six figures. The check is simple, and it takes 10 seconds. Look for the Syncro badge on the tailgate. Then, get underneath and confirm the driveshaft running to the front axle, because a two-wheel drive Westphalia is worth a fraction of the price and badge swaps happen. Also, look for the factory rear locker switch on the dash, since the locking differential option adds thousands by itself. Somewhere right now, someone is selling Grandpa's old camping van for $4,000, and the buyer already knows what that little Syncro badge means. Number 2, the GMC Vandura. On its own, a 1980s GMC Vandura is arguably the least desirable vehicle in America, a plain workbox that plumbers ran into the ground and nobody ever loved. Scrap yards see them every week, but paint one black and metallic gray, add a red stripe and a rooftop spoiler, and you have the A-Team van, one of the most recognizable television vehicles ever put on screen, right up there with the General Lee. The show ran from 1983 to 1987. The production went through a whole stable of vans doing stunts and close-ups, and the survivors from that stable are museum pieces today. That single association transformed a worthless work van into a collector vehicle. Faithful, well-built A-Team replicas sell for $30,000 to $60,000 to collectors, promoters, and grown men who spent every Tuesday night of 1984 in front of the television. And vans with documented screen history have sold for considerably more at specialty auctions. What sellers never learn is that even an unconverted Vandura in solid shape now has a floor under its value, because replica builders need clean donor vans, and the supply is drying up fast. Rust-free Southwestern examples with straight bodies bring real money as starting points alone. So before you scrap that plain white G-Series taking up space beside the shop, understand that somewhere a builder is actively hunting for that exact van, and the 15-window versus panel-side body configuration changes what he will pay. The ugliest decade of American vans produced one of its most bankable icons, and it happened purely because of a television show. Number 1. The Volkswagen Type 2 Samba. And at the very top sits the one that has cost ordinary families more money than every other vehicle on this list combined, because they sell it by its condition instead of by its windows. An old split-windshield Volkswagen bus rotting in the weeds looks like $50 of scrap steel, and thousands of them have been sold exactly that way. But the value of these buses is decided by a number almost nobody thinks to check. Count the windows. A standard 11-window bus is nice money. The deluxe Samba models carried skylight windows curving up into the roofline, and the 21 and 23-window versions sit at the absolute summit of the collector van world. And the count carries a date inside it, because Volkswagen deleted the 2 rear corner windows in 1963 when the wider tailgate arrived, which means a true 23-window bus is by definition an early one, and early means rarer and more valuable still. A restored 23-window Samba sold at Barrett-Jackson in Scottsdale for $302,500, and even rusted engine-less Samba projects pulled from fields have brought $50,000 and more purely because the body is worth restoring at any cost. The early barn door buses, named for the huge engine hatch on the back, carry enormous premiums too. So here is your final test, and it is the easiest one in this entire video. Walk around the bus and count every piece of glass, including the little skylights along the roof edge, then check for the barn door engine lid and the original chassis number stamped under the seat. Those 30 seconds of counting have turned scrap value buses into retirement money, and skipping them has done the exact opposite. The hippie bus everyone laughed at for decades is now, window for window, one of the most valuable vans ever built. So now you know the ramp, the plate, the wheelbase, the paint, the badge, and the windows. That knowledge is worth more than most of the vehicles on this list. If even one of these surprised you, hit the like button so this reaches somebody before their family treasure rolls away on a trailer. Subscribe, because this channel exists to find the money hiding in plain sight, and there is a lot more of it coming. Then tell me in the comments which one of these is closest to you right now. A Corvair behind the shed, a boogie van under a tarp, grandpa's old camper in the side yard. I want to hear about it. And no matter who shows up in your driveway with a trailer and cash in hand, do not sell before you check.